Say, Uncle Doug.
Hello.
There's just the three of us on this show for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think from time to time it's great to meet somebody new.
I always think it's nice to meet people.
It is weird that we only know just the three of us.
That's strange. It's a little strange. By sight, anyway.
It's a pretty small world we inhabit, and so we want to make a new friend today.
Yeah. I think Uncle Dan has a new friend for us to meet.
Well, are you guys willing to travel for this one? Because we're leaving the U.S. of A. I hope you're comfortable.
Is it like
sure
a whimsical travel?
Yeah.
Are we doing a root beer powered dirigible?
Yes, yes, indeed. It's the only way I want to travel for the rest of my life. Now that you've said that. I don't know why.
It's Comfort Plus.
Why the hell did you just say that? But I want it so badly now. Okay. We owe this one, by the way, to listener Sean, who's been gently prodding me to do this guy since we began the show on Facebook. So, hi, Sean. This is
You're
your
on
fault.
blast, Sean, from the Heretic.
This is 100% your fault.
Yeah.
Look, we've talked about faith leaders before, or faith healers rather before. Yeah. Peter Popoff, Benny Hinn, Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah. They all purport to circumvent that nonsense chicanery known as Western medicine and heal people's ailments with the thoroughly proven power of Jesus magic.
Yes.
Whatever you're suffering from, whether it's a case of cancer of the paps. or just you've come down with a bad case of the usher just sat me down in this wheelchair-itis. These upstanding citizens are here to help. Here's the thing. I tend to think of this as a largely American phenomenon. Not sure why. Maybe it's just that's all I hear about because that's where I'm from. Or maybe I just think of Americans as particularly susceptible to the stupidest forms of magical thinking. But fellas, I'm very disappointed to report that this is not unique to our credulous corner of the world.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
So follow me, won't you, to post-World War II Germany, where the nation was busy picking up the pieces of their war-torn country and repairing the psychological wounds that engaging in a genocide and an attempted continental power grab can inflict.
That's a bad hangover.
It's a rough one.
Yeah,
everybody has to do that thing and then try and
we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I've had to piece together some what happened the night before.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's where they were at. It was a country in a lot of emotional and physical pain, and they needed a hero. And that hero showed up in the rather alarming person of Bruno Groening.
Oh, boy.
Bruno Groening.
Yes, indeed. I got to say...
Willkommen, Bruno.
Thank you to that, yes. More often than not, when I look at the faces of the spiritual leaders of the world, I don't see what their followers are so fired up about. Whether it's Rajneesh or John of God or whatever, I look at them and... I do not see any of the inner glow that the faithful keep assuring everyone they can see.
Your LRHs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's sometimes very baffling. I mean, there's a disconnect there that I don't understand. That is way more true of our boy Bruno. I don't know. I've looked at dozens of pictures of this guy and... Yikes.
I'm just pulling him up right now.
Please do so.
Lord.
It's the face.
Oh, Jesus. I just Googled it.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I got to say, though, if there is a more perfect visage for Vigo the Carpathian in
That's exactly it.
I step on your line.
You jumped on it, but that's okay. This is the guy. It's the face that I imagine haunts Werner Herzog's nightmares. He looks like the actor David Lynch wouldn't cast because he was just too creepy.
I know you're going to get to this, but I just scrolled down to some other photos of him.
No, don't. Don't.
I'm alarmed.
Say nothing.
I'll say nothing.
We'll get to it.
Ooh.
Yeah, but for those listeners at home who don't have Google machines...
Oh, dear God. I won't say anything.
Picture a long, gaunt face with very severe features and eyes that look like they're perpetually imagining the death of a puppy and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely the portrait model for Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2, for sure. He never smiled. Like, you guys are all looking at pictures of him. Like, none of them are him smiling. Every picture, he looks like he was only half paying attention to whoever he was talking to, because one half of his brain was always obsessively contemplating violent revenge on his enemies.
Holy Lord.
Which feels a little weird, because his teachings seemed to center around the healing power of love. So, when you look at that guy, think love.
Oh, boy.
Actually, so what's interesting is that his ideas are pretty familiar to us at this point. The themes form, gentlemen, as we discuss these weirdos. A combination of God can cure anything, because he definitely was a God dude, and the power of positive thinking with a little bit of mystical life force / energy wave nonsense thrown in.
Oof. Seems like there's one thing God couldn't cure, but sure, we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, we'll get to a bunch of stuff. Anyway, here, try this on for something we've heard before. He claimed that his teachings were not a new religion, but were ancient beliefs that had been lost, and that God had revealed these ways to him.
Yeah,
Anything
good.
familiar?
Yeah.
All right.
Standard to the form. Yep.
So, to be honest, it was actually pretty tricky trying to suss out an actual belief system from the scraps of info I found on the internet. There was a lot of be good to each other, and a very weird sense of get back to nature with no explanation of what that actually means. But he also was very into not thinking negatively. You don't focus on bad health, you focus on good health. You don't think about sad or difficult things weighing on you. He said, I have a broad back. Give me your burden. Put a pin in that.
Okay.
And we'll come back to it. There was also a belief that seems to be similar to the Force. I'm not sure what it was actually about. He called it Heilstrom, which means a healing stream or healing wave. Sort of a godly life force that one can absorb with some sort of quasi-meditative practice. So there are a lot of seemingly contradictory ideas within his oeuvre. He didn't have to be there for healings to happen, but when he was there, miracles abounded. There's an interesting thing about Groening, which is that unlike the faith healers that we know about, are kind of a cult of personality, right? It's about the man. It's about the person. But he's unique in the sense that people seem to keep believing his shit after he's dead.
Really?
Which is unusual because, usually a faith healer's got to do a thing.
Right.
To heal you. And it seemed like he did. I mean, he gathered lots of things. 90% of the stories that you hear about, he was there for, and then the person got healed or whatever. But let me quickly jump into a quick timeline of his life. And we'll let Mark deal with the police that are knocking on his door any moment.
I gotta go, guys. See ya.
Here's a quick timeline. He was born in 1906 in what was then Danzig, part of the German Empire.
Of course he was.
Now Gdansk, Poland. And of course Gdansk if you want to. So as a child, he had a very interesting Joseph Smith moment where apparently he went into the woods to pray, and God talked to him, and was given, and he was sort of given information that were like the powers that he would later use to heal. And that's,
it's interesting how you always have to be alone for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, he did that. He was eventually, I think, some of this information is sketchy, but I think he was conscripted into the German army in World War II, and possibly taken as a prisoner of war in the USSR or in Russia, and then
good times.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, if I saw this guy running at me across a battlefield, I think I'd surrender.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I would think it was the Highlander coming at me.
Eventually, so in 1949, is when he got famous for curing a kid of MS in Hereford, according to the kid's dad. And this made headlines, not international, national headlines.
Yeah.
And then he started to draw crowds all over the place, eventually drawing crowds of up to 30,000 people.
Really?
Yeah. People would hear that he was coming, and they would all just fucking gather. I mean, he was a big draw.
It seems like you said, this would be a ripe time and place for good news.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Even if it does take the form of the worst, most terrifying facial hellscape known to mankind. So anyway, he was eventually sort of banned from practicing his healing.
Really?
Because he wasn't licensed to do so, and there was a lot of claims of charlatanery.
Wait, there's a licensing system for that?
Yeah, it's called medicine.
This is Germany. We are a place of good ideas.
Yeah.
But yes, he was not a doctor, and therefore
Oh, I see. There's not a
claims-
shaman license in Germany.
No, he was but there so he was told he couldn't practice for a long time. This was very upsetting to him and many of his followers. Eventually so basically 10 years into his 10 years after his big splash in the national spotlight, he died. So that was in 59. So there you go. That's his timeline.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We'll get to now the thing that I've been trying to push back from you guys.
Look,
Which
I
is
don't want to be ableist about this, so it is.
But look, a very odd thing when you look at a picture of a guy who claims to be a magical healer, and you see, as he develops through his years, a very prominent goiter.
Prominent is the kindest word you could apply to that goiter.
Yeah, his lower neck quadrupled in circumference.
Oh, my Lord in
over
heaven.
the years.
Yeah, he's got one of those airport pillows,
right? Which he's wearing,
rest his head on.
which he's wearing frontwise.
Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, something that alarming does seem like it would be a bit of a red flag in a healer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I looked and looked and looked for anything about that, and finally, in the middle of a documentary that was made by believers, which they're the only people who would make a documentary about him, probably. Which, by the way, Gamcast might want to look in. I don't know.
Really?
They don't tend to do docs, but my goodness, it's very.
Oh no, they do. They do. They could totally do it.
Anyway,
We'll send it to Eli.
yeah, exactly. So he basically said that it wasn't a goiter, but was just a gland that grew big when he could talk, when he was allowed to talk to a lot of people.
Okay.
And when he wasn't allowed to talk to a lot of people, when he was only allowed to talk to a few people, it got smaller. And then if he was banned from talking people, it got very small. And that was when it felt bad. If he could button that top button, he was a miserable son-of-a-bitch.
First of all,
but he felt good when it was big.
If he said it was not a goiter, he had to have said it in a German accent. It's not a goiter.
That is an
not a
Austrian
goiter.
accent, I will have you know.
Polish, actually.
Yeah.
But that's what a goiter is a swollen gland.
Yes, it is. Correct. You are correct about that.
And
but,
it's incredibly treatable.
well, not by his methods, apparently.
Yes.
So he claimed it fluctuated depending on his mood, kind of like a breeding frog. Is that?
Yes, indeed. Only it wasn't
it's
his
like
mood.
an erection.
It was about how many people he was allowed / could draw to address. But here's the thing. It was more than just, it wasn't a sickness, you guys. That's where everybody else's sickness went.
See, that's what I'd say.
You ready for this? Remember when he
okay.
said, "Give me your burden"?
Yeah.
I've got a strong back.
I'm pulling the pin out of that one because apparently that's where he put it.
Oh.
Bruno Groening's neck goiter was his version of Jesus bleeding in Gethsemane.
So he was a marsupial. He could.
Hey, man. When
He
life
just
gives
put
you,
all the hurt in the pouch.
That's right.
when life gives you goiters.
That's right. So apparently that was what it was. When he suffered for everyone else's pain, and if you were able to rise up out of your wheelchair, which a lot of people claimed to have been able to do,
Yeah.
your infirmity lodged itself in his neck.
Oh, God.
Well, and he could just have some iodine. I think that was
Exactly.
like the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
well, shut up. Because there are a lot of people that needed that healing.
Boy,
So,
there
yeah.
are some photos of him having just taken on a lot of people's pain.
yeah. So anyway,
poor
there you go.
Weird guy.
The dude dies, seemingly, apparently, of cancer at age 52. Again, red flag for healers.
Yeah.
Right.
Roughly 10 years after he started healing people. And yet, people still, to this day, follow his teachings. So that's pretty impressive to me and seems strange. Several groups claim to follow...
it's like...
Yeah.
It's like an artist's work, right? Picasso's value went up the second he died, and maybe it's the same. He's on the other side now.
You can't buy someone else's healing. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, you can try.
But here's the thing. Apparently, his teachings are enough to heal you. He doesn't have to be there. And there are several groups which have popped up that claim to follow his teachings, including the Circle of Information, the Bruno Groening Trust, the Bruno Groening Friends, Association for the Advancement in Germany of Spiritual and Natural Psychological Foundations for Living.
Whoa.
Rolls right off the tongue.
In
does.
German, that takes 15 minutes to say.
Yes, and also you lose some of your lung capacity.
Yeah.
The Association for Natural Spiritual Living, the Bruno Groening Circle of Friends, and Help and Healing Sessions. Circle of Friends seems to be a big one. Anyway, I couldn't find how they all interact with each other or which groups are rivals. I don't know if they all claim to be the real Groening group and the other ones are just fakers, but all of those groups seem to be, and so they're still out there, they're still practicing, they're still trying to sort of convert people. I saw one delightful little part of a documentary video about a kid going from Germany to Cuba and healing some people there in Cuba through the power of Gruno and the language of Esperanto, which I think was delightful.
Oh my God.
But there you have it. It's not just us. This is something that happens to credulous simpletons the world over.
Wow.
Including
Well, good job,
apparently
Germany.
Including apparently listener Sean's mom. Which
Well, not the
I don't
wor-
mean to call your mom a simpleton, Sean. Sorry.
Definitely not the worst thing to come out of Germany in the 1940s.
Right? Yeah. They
It's like
invented,
the third.
Right.
It's top three. Yeah.
it's Volkswagen, and then it's and then it's him. So there you go. Go get yourself some healing wave, some magic powers,
Get some iodine pills.
and go stuff your problems into somebody's neck.
Yeah. All that makes sense. Well, let's move on.
Okay.